Bye. Thank you.
Earlier this year, leaders from all over the world gathered in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, for the second African Climate Summit. And they did this in a push for solutions that can work on the continent and also for the world. Sorry about the wind. It is very windy. I'm going to try to make sure you can hear me and also see me in this. The hair is all over the place. It was a gathering marked by urgency and also by ambition and a strong call for fairer financing and stronger partnerships. To hear more about this summit, we have gathered a panel of experts. Some of them were at the summit. We're going to have listen to what they have to say about the experience in Addis Ababa. So please join me in welcoming Patrick Kiarie. Patrick is part of the team, the We Don't Have Time team, and he is the African region representative and also head of the Kenyan chapter of We Don't Have Time. So it's always lovely to see you, Patrick. How are you?
I'm very much fine, Katarina, and I'm very grateful to see you. Yeah, it's our time. We have to push this information to all. And here I have great team that I met when I visited African Climate Summit with my colleague Edwin. I was happy to meet Sada, and I was happy to meet Nadine from Cameroon and Sada from Babu, which represent Babu in Africa, Ethiopia. So it's great.
Wonderful, wonderful, Patrick.
And yeah.
And next to you, at least from my point of view on Zoom here, we have Nadine Bindey, your coordinator, a Sahelian initiative for the environment and climate. So how are you today, Nadine?
Hello, Victor. Hello, everyone. Nice connecting with you. Aside from Patrick, whom I met during Africa Climate Summit. So today, I would say I'm a little bit excited and actually eager to know what holds for us, the youth, ahead of the COP30. So I'm looking forward to this fruitful exchange. And yeah, thank you so much.
Excellent. We're missing Siddharth Vinod. Maybe he's not in yet. He is a Forest Program and Operations Associate. There you are. Wonderful, Siddharth Vinod. I'll introduce you properly now that I can see you. You are Forest Program and Operations Associate, the African Bamboo and from African Bamboo. So great to have you on the show too, Siddharth. So Patrick.
Thank you so much.
I'll get back to you with a question here. You've been with us for quite a while now. Could you please tell us why and how you first got involved with the climate topic?
Yes, thank you for that good question, Katarina. You know, when we don't have time in Kenya, our focus or our voice is to spread the voice to everyone. And that's why we went to African Climate Summit in Ethiopia. And we were able to meet these people who are here and others who are not here. And our main goal is to split the information, and we learned from them. And same case, they learned 1, 2, 3 things from us. And that's why we believe together we are the solution to the climate crisis. We needed their voices. We needed this voice of Cameroon. We needed this voice from Babu in Ethiopia and other parts they work in. So it's very important. And that's why we are there. And I'm glad they responded to our call.
Thank you, Patrick. So Nadine, for those watching that might not already know so much about your organization, could you please tell us a bit more about what you do in your organization?
Sure. Thank you very much for that question. So, the Sahelian Initiative for the Environment and Climate, it is actually translated from French because it is actually a French organization. But given that Cameroon is bilingual, we decided to give it, an English translation so that everyone would feel included. So it is a youth-led association that works on countering environmental degradation and climate change in across Cameroon, across the Cameroon Sahel and extends to the Lake Chad Basin because we are part of the Lake Chad Basin. And our main focus is on reforestation, sustainable agriculture, and climate actions. So far, we've led several initiatives, including tree planting, initiatives, most especially in schools. We have also led awareness campaigns on chemical use of like chemical fertilizers. We have offered training to cooperatives on soil restoration. And despite maybe the limited resources that we are facing still as a youth-led organization, as well as the security challenges, because the Far North region, we are going through some security challenges like the Boko Haram insurgency. We, however, remain committed, to in building climate resilience in vulnerable communities like the Sahel region. So globally, that is what the Sahelian Initiative for the Environment and Climate does.
Thank you, Nadine. So, why was the African Climate Summit important for you to attend? And could you tell us about why you went and what your hopes and also what came out of it from your perspective?
Okay. So it's actually a funny story because I didn't intend like to attend the Africa Climate Summit, but I would say it was actually a significant moment for me because it was a transitioning moment from the classroom into a high level negotiation space. Before attending the Africa Climate Summit, I took part in the Nairobi Summer School on Climate Justice. I think it was 2 weeks training, and it actually set the stage for me to, move into the class from the classroom to directly prepare myself to understand how Africa's climate agenda is being shaped. And seeing it happen in real time was really eye-opening. So furthermore, I can say that what I maybe witnessed during the Africa Climate Summit was the fact that African leaders could actually come together and speak in one clear voice. We stood together, they stood together, and they said we are not just a continent facing challenges, but we are a continent, producing solutions to those challenges. So um, they focus on our immense potentials, the potentials that Africa have in renewable energy, in green minerals and sustainable agriculture was actually, I would say, electrifying. Also, one of the uh, most considerable outcome was the fact that we witnessed the inauguration of the Grand Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia with their own finances, like they didn't receive any external fund, so which was actually a landmark event. However, I would say I was a little bit disappointed because, uh, many youths like me did not actually have the opportunity to partake in this event. So I asked myself, like, how can we expect to be engaged in spaces designed for us, why we can't actually afford to be there? And this is actually what is happening right now. With COP30 in Berlin. So we have seen, the high cost of flights where a few people or few youths can actually afford. So the Africa Climate Summit, in as much as it was a landmark event because it was my first time attending such spaces, I believe that, if we put enough funds maybe for the youth to actually partake in such spaces, I think go a long way in achieving the solutions required, to fight the climate crisis, I would say.
Thank you, Nadine. Siddharth, if I understand it correctly, you are based in Addis Ababa. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Mhm. So could you please tell us the status of climate action now in Ethiopia from your perspective, please?
I think currently when you look at the landscape of Africa and the conversations that are going around, right, where Africa is the next forefront of climate action, right? I think the eye of the storm and all of this is and will be Ethiopia, right? It is the second largest population, as you've seen from the two countries that were trying to get COP32, that was Nigeria and Ethiopia, the two largest populations. You do see that the direction of climate action towards larger populations is becoming big, right? And Ethiopia has been leading on it. Ethiopia is one of the first countries to start a national initiative on tree planting, right, with a target of around 50 billion trees, right? So there are big ambitions set. If you look at the country, even in the mobility space, right? It's one of the first countries that has almost banned fuel-based cars into the country, right? They're moving to electric vehicles, and now with the dam set up, there is a larger direction towards more renewable energy, more holistic development, right? And I see Ethiopia being at the forefront of food production because with its aim to be the food basket of the continent, right? When I look at the country, I compare it to my home country, India, right? I see it as two countries that have been import driven and are moving towards being self-sustaining through their initiatives that are taking place. And a big model that they're building it around is climate action.
Thank you so much. That's really encouraging to hear. And the news about the transport policy and the EVs has reached my home country in Sweden. Also, the news from what's happening in Ethiopia. This is really not really what we're doing at this pace that you're doing it. So that's really impressive. So what would you say from the African bamboo perspective is the most overlooked climate solution here when it comes to scaling sustainable materials, just like bamboo? What needs to be done?
I think number one is to understand the value chain. I think what we really don't pay attention to, right, is the entire value chain of building a sustainable commodity. What we are working in is right from the ground up. We're working with an untapped asset class, we're working with an undervalued resource commodity, and we're working with an extremely unbanked community in the highlands of Ethiopia. Are the bamboo that we currently work with grows above the coffee growing regions of Ethiopia, grows above 2,000 meters, grows in the extreme highlands of Ethiopia in an ecosystem called the Afro-Montane Highlands. These are highlands that stretch across the four eastern countries. That's Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, a small part of Sudan. Yes, and when you look at all these elements, you're talking about a completely unspoken of commodity and a forest ecosystem. It's not often that people talk about bamboo in Ethiopia, but after India and China, Ethiopia actually holds one of the largest bamboo resources, natural bamboo stocks in the world, right? So when you look at it from that standpoint, we are not just manufacturing or producing a sustainable material, we're building an entire value chain that allows for job creation, that allows for rural economy building, that allows for market access and a large scale market creation within a rural economy, which, as coffee has done in Ethiopia, bamboo will do the same. And that's how we're looking at this particular commodity.
So that's a strong vision. I mean, coffee, Ethiopian coffee. Everybody knows Ethiopian coffee, right? So, well, that's very promising. So, turning now back to Patrick, what can you say, Patrick, in general about climate action in Africa? I mean, Africa is a continent; it's vast, but you are a representative in Africa. So, I would like to have your views on what's happening and what do you see that is coming? I mean, now we hear from the Ethiopian perspective, but what have you picked up from other regions of Africa, other countries, Patrick? You're muted, dear.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, yeah. I'm saying from my perspective, out of I've been able to engage in Africa continent. I've ever been in Ghana. I've ever been in South Africa through courtesy of we don't have time. I'm here in Kenya representing. I was there recently in Ethiopia, and that's why I meet these great guys and others that we met. But I noted in Africa, a lot of information is not yet in the ground. So we need to amplify this voice. And I believe Babu organization, Nadine, and others who are part of us can grow this momentum. In Africa, there is still financing is very low, and still communication. And very great if we don't have them is doing something great that is expressing the implementations of what we are doing. So I think we need to do a lot, especially for Africa continent. We need to bring these voices together and let the momentum take the space.
Thank you, Patrick. So Nadine, what could you add? What is your perspective from the used, vast, and beautiful continent of Africa when it comes to climate action?
Is it for me? Yeah, we need to inspire more.
Okay.
May it be youth. Yeah, we need to inspire all to be part of it. And in the digital spaces, storytelling, the indigenous people, the opportunities for the impact, global feasibility of African voices. I think we all need all that.
Thank you, Patrick. So Nadine, what could you add, please? We cannot hear you. You're muted. Could please unmute. If you're in a quiet space, you don't need to mute during the session. Are you not muted? No? Let's see what my technician team says here. Okay, while they fix this, so you fix it, let's turn to Siddharth. What would you like to add, Siddharth, from this? I mean, you spoke about the Ethiopian perspective of climate change, but what could you tell? Could you give us an overall perspective from other countries and other regions of Africa, please?
I think it looks promising, right? We see the Africa Forest Landscape Restoration Program, which is looking at almost restoring 100 million hectares across 32 countries. We're looking at Rwanda's Green Fund, for example, which has been largely investing into green infrastructure, into electricity, into the forestry space. We're looking at the same in Niger as well, where they're having farmer-led, where the farmer-led regeneration fund is putting in a lot of money for community-based afforestation efforts, which we're trying to do the same in Ethiopia as well, right? The future does look promising because I think at least over the last 2 years, from my experience, there's a lot more conversation on implementation, which has been key because a big drawback, I think, in the climate sector, in the afforestation sector, which usually happens in rural ecosystems. What we need to really pay attention to is that most of our projects, most of our large-scale, impactful initiatives, apart from solar and potentially wind, happen in extremely rural ecosystems, right? So when a project is set up, you're not looking at it solely as climate action, right? Because the minute you do, you take the communities out of it, right? So when you look at a project, when you look at a restoration project, when you look at a large scale development project, especially that has climate action, how do you incorporate communities well? How do you implement projects the right way? Because I think what has happened in the past is where you have large scale implementation plans that you cannot meet and you promise communities things, right? And when you don't deliver, you lose a large scale of trust, right? And trust is a big factor in when it comes to climate action. You need to get people in ecosystems to trust you about something that they cannot see, that they cannot feel, right? And which is why I say implementation is key, because if they see implementation, they see trusted implementation that happens very consciously over the promised period of time, they will start believing in the concept of climate action. And you will see a larger, more coordinated effort across the countries in the continent that are making the impact that we want to potentially make, and not far-fetched dreams of where we can potentially get to.
Okay. Thank you for that input. So let's see if we can get Nadine back on air and hear you again, please.
Can
So
you
I'd
hear me?
just like your great, we can hear you. Your perspective on what's happening in the African continent when it comes to climate change, climate action. Well, climate change we know that's it's happening there, of course, too, but climate action.
Okay, so I think I'll take a stance of a youth who is, more worried about the impact that we are witnessing. And I would say, in as much as the state of climate action in Cameroon, in Africa, sorry, we've witnessed recently how African leaders are becoming more unified and confident. We witnessed during the Africa Climate Summit the declaration that was adopted, which was the Addis Ababa Declaration, and it it actually positions Africa as not just as a victim, like I said earlier, but as a hope for climate solutions and sustainable growth. So the youth as well are also taking up space. We are no longer waiting. We are implementing local solutions at our own level to drive global and sustainable impact when it comes to taking climate actions. So, but beyond the ground, I would say people see, climate action in a very particular way. Like they are not just thinking about achieving net zero by 2050, but they are thinking about daily life and survival. A mother is thinking about her farms, her crops. A herder is thinking about finding grazing lands for his cattle, for instance. And a young graduate is thinking about, getting a job in the solar energy or maybe green industries. So the challenges sure may be bigger, but even fund the funding gap as well. But since it does not actually reach the people who are, actually on the ground, um, putting, localized solutions to cope with and or to adapt with the impact of climate change. But I believe we could look more into that and channel more solutions.
Thank you, Nadine. I'm glad we got your sound back on. So thank you very much, Patrick. We have, unfortunately we have to end now. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Siddharth, and also thank you, Nadine, for sharing your perspectives. And let's hope there will be a new summit next year. Do we know there's going to be a new summit next year in somewhere in Africa? Does anybody know this? Jump in. Not yet.
No,
I
no, not
doubt.
yet. I think the
I
big
doubt.
one is 2027.
Okay. So we'll learn when the news comes out. So excellent. Best of luck with your continued work. So now we're gonna talk a little bit about something else. As you all are aware of, Bill Gates' statements The tech billionaire Bill Gates' statement shocked the global community with his long essay that was published just 2 weeks before COP. And some interpreted this text as Bill Gates turning into a climate delayer or even denier. Others defend him. But what did he really say? Our friend Dave Warless made a great video about this controversy in his YouTube channel, Just Have a Think. And let's watch this.